Good evening guys, and welcome to this evening's vlog. I'm back again with Adventures of Paul. Say hello, Adventures of Paul.
Hello,
what we're doing tonight, or don't you know?
Hello, Adventures of Paul. We're doing St Peter's ruins that tonight.
Yeah, we're doing the old ruins of St Peter's Chapel. It's an old church. It's approximately 1,000 years old, what's left of it. There's a few walls. I do love the fact that you speak in your breath. You can see as if you're smoking. But to digress on what we're doing tonight. Tonight is a story. We're going to go around there, film the actual ruins of the church in total darkness that's around there. We just got torchlight. There is an old, this is where people turn off or laugh, there is an old werewolf story that goes with it. Now I'm going to break that down for you, explain my findings on it, what I believe to have actually happened, and then from there you can make your own conclusions. But it is very chilly out there.
Oh, yes.
We've just witnessed, I filmed a little bit, I'll show you, some satellites going past by. I believe it must have been Elon Musk. Whole line of them, really weird. I'll turn around and show you them again. But anyway guys, let's go and do this. Bit of a weird phenomenon, but that is, I believe it's Elon Musk messing about again. There is satellites going about. They'll reach across the sky. I remember during lockdown you had a whole line, a whole procession of them going past. But yeah, it's a whole line of satellites moving. Weird. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. If you didn't know what they were, it could kind of freak you out. We haven't got on the subject of things like aliens or UFOs, etc. But yeah, they're not them, they are satellites. That is actually a new moon this evening. I did film that weird phenomenon on Saturday night. It was like a moon halo, largest one I've ever seen. I don't know what the expanse of it was, but around the perimeter of the moon you could actually see Jupiter and Uranus. And that's not being rude either. But yeah, unfortunately tonight we have a new moon, not a full moon. Not that you'd expect us to be walking along the moors, the old site in the old American Werewolf in London film, the great John Landis film with the special effects by Rick Baker, who won the Academy Award. There's something for sure is your old werewolf movies. I don't know if people turn around and say you have phobias about things. I actually did have a phobia about them growing up. I think I was 10 years old when I see American Werewolf in London, and they freaked me out. Yet I still would go and watch the likes of The Howling, Silver Bullet, Dog Soldiers, was it Ginger Snaps, a plethora, and obviously all your old Hammer horror movies from the 70s, etc., which had the Wolfman, etc., and there's a few other werewolf ones. They freaked the life out of me, yet I would still watch them. And then we go on to more of a modern day era with Underworld, and was it Kate Beckinsale who played Celine? That made the films worth watching because I had a bit of a thing for her. But anyway, I digress. We'll get back to what we are doing. At the moment we're walking through what appears to be a very boggy field. We will hopefully make our way to some sort of terra firma, some concrete towards the back end here. I have filmed this during the daylight, so I kind of know where we're going. And this really weird blue light running towards us is actually someone walking their dog. So not to be afraid of that. There is no real significance to this place where we are here. It just adds to the spooky vibes. This is like a 17th, 18th century old cattle pen, sheep pen, etc. that's been added to with some more modern techniques. The metal, obviously the steel structures, but the wall, which is at the perimeter, goes back to that era. As you can see then, the old vine creepers growing over the top of it. Our destination is probably, I'd say maybe half a mile further up there. As I said, it's an old chapel. There's maybe 2 or 3 walls of it standing, and it goes back to 1050, so before the time of the Norman conquest in 1066, William the Conqueror, etc. Predates that, so this would be Anglo-Saxon, because then it would have become Norman after that. But yeah, there is an old story that goes from this area. Basically, I think it's around 1485. The local township was scared into hiding or getting away from the area by a creature, so they're saying. Now, I'm not going to disbelieve them, but I'll break down in terms as we get round to the church area itself what my beliefs on what actually did happen and how the times could have certainly affected their views. Walking up in front of me up there, you can see in the distance, that's Adventures of Paul. We're quite safe and secure here. It is, if I drag my feet, a concrete path, so it's quite safe to come down here. Although I would not turn around and recommend you come down here by yourself, because if you did have an accident, no one's going to know, no one's going to find you till the following morning, and who knows what could happen in the in-between hours. Certainly got noise coming from which is pretty much a nature reserve to our right. I know beyond that there's a load of lakes with waterfowl, but beyond this fence area here there are foxes, badgers, there's certainly adders, which are the UK's most poisonous snake, and probably a plethora of other creatures, birds, etc. Things that make you freak out because they'll make their call in the middle of the night when you least expect it. But it takes away from what we are actually looking into. You know what, I've actually forgotten what episode of the series this is. We started just about a week before Halloween, with the first proper one being Halloween itself, and we've done one every Tuesday. Paul had some medical appointments down in Oxfordshire last week, so I was left to me Jack Jones going around the back of where I actually live, and that was quite spooky being there because there was people about sitting around in the dark, and when you're walking by yourself there's nothing that's going to more freak you out. But I do love the fact that it looks like we're starting to get a fog. It just adds to it. We can hear a growling or a barking coming from the distance, but there are obviously canal boats. You can see the red light in the distance. That could be just someone out for a walk. But there are creatures out there for sure. And here, if you can just about see, if I focus in a little bit, getting them barks. That's our destination. A 1,000-year-old chapel on a foggy night. We're lucky, to be honest with you, that Milton Keynes, we have so much stuff integrated with where we live in a modern city. So we've got ruins like this. We've got ruins that go even older than this. There's Roman ruins. But this place is quite magnificent, to be honest with you. I don't know how old the graves are, but there are some tombs, some old stones within the walled area. Try and find that access point to get in. Probably here, I'd say. Certainly the ground's starting to get white and frosty, crisp underfoot, but just look at that. It's like an old monument. 1,000 years old approximately, and as you can see as I focus in there, old, very old gravestones, and you would not even be able to make out the people that lie beneath them, if they of course still do. I believe sometime in the 14th century they added another support beam, probably that one there, probably the flat one. I think the more naturally curved ones go back to, or it could be the other way around, that could be the original, they could be. One of them is 1,000 years old, the other one goes to the 14th century. This, very much like any other old ruins, will be repurposed. And when I say repurposed, you have a look at the masonry work, you'll have like a coating over the top of it to try and stop it further falling into disrepair, collapsing in on itself, etc. See, like that's got chicken wire over the top of it. It's not a, well, so it is to preserve it. See, we're certainly not the only ones here. We have moles. I've never seen a mole come out of the ground. That would be interesting. But yeah, it's quite eerie, quite fascinating, quite haunting. And then when you've got the story that I've got to bring to you, and you can hear growls and barks in the distance, it's quite unnerving. Let's start off by entering. I said I'm used to this with what a nave is, whether that's the front, the back, the aisle, the chapel, etc. There's a path that takes you right in. Look at that. So much history. And I bet there's a plethora of stories that haunted that go with it. Not just our spookiness. Look at this. Old wood. Was that old wood or was that just slabs? They could be slate, but it's all survived the test of time. Bit of a steeper step that side, so we'll make our way a bit further down here and then enter. And one of the good things about this, not sealed off, you are free to walk and roam around just as we do. Give the place a bit of respect if you are coming. No need to take that souvenir, chip away at the rocks, etc. to say you've been here, or write on the walls. I know people do. I'm not here to judge anyone, but you just sort of think, give it a rest, guys. This has seen enough and it deserves to be respected to maybe last, I don't know, perhaps another 300-500 years. Very small in size. I mean, that is it. So it's like 2 rooms. So I'm sort of questioning myself on this. Would this have been maybe a window? Possibly a bread oven? I don't know. It's just the height of it. I know people were certainly shorter in that period of time, and maybe the ground level is actually lower in that time period, like as we've been through Stony, and I've explained it there, with the George pub being actually 4 foot lower to the ground than what you actually see it. So maybe we are raised now. The earth deposits have laid on top century after century, and we find ourselves 4 to 6 feet higher than what we're supposed to be. But yeah, what do you think, guys? I'd certainly say come here and visit. It feels better like this on a crisp, cool night where you can see your own breath, you can see the stars, you get the element of a spooky story that I'm about to tell, and it just adds to it. It's quite unique. I feel privileged to be out doing it. I'm going to say that the perimeter wall is earlier in period timetable, so I don't know, maybe 15th, 16th century. There would have been other settlements that tried to lay claim to this after the original. Just look at that. With a torch glowing. It's actually pitch black, but just with the light of the camera and the torch, you get like a glow in the distance. Quite unique. There would have been a manor house around to our left. It's just a pile of rocks now. I don't know the reason why it's demise. Oh yeah, just a small, kind of innocent looking area. Oh, we could actually get dates here. So these are a lot more modern. So people did, there you go, 1834. That's still a heck of a long time ago, guys. Nearly 200 years. These significantly older than that. This one you can't make out, or can you? No, but just look at the size. That's not infant, that's actual adult, and that's probably maybe 5 feet in length. More evidence of our moles again. More old slabs which would have been graves or tombs. Some of them you can, maybe if you've done sort of like a brass rubbing even, you might be able to depict the dates. Hard to tell what way's up. Finding a date would make it more significant. Just heard a bit of a jangle then. Made me freak out a bit, but it's actually Paul playing about with the gate over the back there. Look at that. Snapped in half too. Okay, let's get on with the story. Okay, so we're talking circa 1485. This area was gripped with a pandemic. They turned around and said it was werewolf established in the area, but this is what we break it down to. In that period of time, there was a heck of a lot of your witch trials, etc. People accused of shape-shifting, and it could just be the simplest thing. People just making their own medicines from herbs they find on the side, the hedgeways, etc. There was not so much roads back in that time, but yeah, they would come across, they would make their own herbs. People of religion would doubt them or turn around and call them heretics, and they would be dunked in the pond, the local pond or the river, etc. And if they drowned, they were innocent. If they survived, they were found guilty of being a witch and then burnt at the stake. The problem was synonymous with this place here and the period in time in question. There were wolves about, there was bears about. I don't think they were abolished from this country till about maybe the 1600s. The last wolf was hunted, but we're talking a time period where sheep and cattle, etc., were found left slaughtered in the fields. Children had gone missing. Other people had just miraculously disappeared. Now, this common day and age, the same sort of thing still goes true now. It still happens, but we can put it down to a dog left off the lead that's got run amok in a field. They do that. We know that. There's pure evidence of that happening. We know of people that will snatch people this day and age. Maybe it happened then, maybe it didn't happen then. We're surrounded by a plethora of water, be it river, canal, lake, etc. They could have quite easily slipped away. People could have looked in the different locations. Just recently this year, we had that poor lady who fell into the river and was not found for at least a month. Now in that time, they could have sort of floated away, never to be seen again. And you add up all these circumstances, and we have periods of, we've not actually got a full moon tonight, we've got a new moon, but the full moon, it gives off magnetic vibes. Everything that we live around, we live with the sun, with the heat, etc. but the moon gives us gravitational pull, it does our tides, etc. People find it difficult to sleep, people find all other sort of means of things going on. It's hard to explain, but you all know this. You all know of someone that has issues around the time of the full moon with problems sleeping, etc. We don't know rhyme or reason for why, and in that period of time someone could have had a few episodes, not have quite been right in the head, should we say, and they say there's something, they say they're a creature, they howl or bark like the creatures that would in the woods, and this day and age they would probably get sectioned. Then they would have been persecuted, term hand say it's witchcraft, or in this case a shapeshifter, and hung. On the execution of one particular guy, he let out a huge howl, and Terman has said that this place would never prosper us, and from that day on it never did. But that's not neither rhyme or reason. What you got to turn around and say with a werewolf story as such that is being drawn out to you, you're not looking at a mythical creature that's hairy with teeth and snarling, the sort of thing of horror movies, the things that I've had phobias about since I've growing up. You're thinking of all the circumstances, putting them together and making up that conclusion. So I'm not turning around and saying there was an actual werewolf, but in terms of what the people believed, why not? If that's their period of time, they're different, they're not the same as we are now. If there was happenings that could go unexplained, and their life was around paganism, witchcraft, you had all sorts of things of the Spanish Inquisition come through, people burnt at the cross left, right and centre, persecuted because they believed in a different god. So why not? Really weird. You're going to have to make your own conclusion on that one, but I believe there's something in the story. It's like you turn around and put it this way, you turn around and say, you see an object. I'm seeing objects all around me at the moment flying in the sky. I believe them to be a helicopter, I believe them to be a plane. We've just seen Bezos, is it Bezos? I think it's him anyway, the guy with the Teslas and whatever, with his satellites flying around. They're unidentified flying objects. So they are basically UFOs. So if we can't identify what this is, why not it be a werewolf story? And there you go. But look at that moon. It's a shame it's not a full moon. It would certainly add to the eeriness. And now thinking about it, what I thought was barking, if you can hear that, I believe that's actually waterfowl. But interesting all the same. Fortunately enough, we have imagery which shows you what it would have looked like. Ah, so there's the nave. So it's the chapel at the back. The nave is basically right in front of us there. That's the nave. And the chapel to the back over there. But yeah, really cool. And then around this area, not that there's much left of that at all either. I think they were going to do some archaeological digs around this area, because where I am approximately now, it will show you the earthworks, etc. This was Stantonbury Manor. And they simply knocked it down, and all that's left is there. You see that? There's not just a mound, there's not a grass bank. Under there is just rubble. So if they rummage through that, they will find old coins, old pottery, and the likes and so on. There is like earthworks, like a wall that goes around a perimeter area. And whether they ever run in conjunction at all, whether the manor house was ever going at the same time as the old chapel, who knows? I've not bothered to look into it. That's not for this series. This is all about the spookiness, the vibes that we get, and I certainly hope you've enjoyed it. Certainly had a weird start to it with them satellites, that's for sure. But now you can see it's how cold it's getting. You're getting the glisteningness, the ice crystals starting to settle. It's like get a crunch underfoot as you start to leave. But yeah, I found it interesting. It's starting to get a bit milder now, to be honest with you. Not as bitterly cold as when we first arrived. But it's quite a beautiful sight. If you're just purely into the ruins themselves, if you like the paranormal, you're going to find it all here with us. This is a series, as I said, we started just before Halloween. I think this is something like episode 5 now. We've delved into the areas which makes sense to the close proximity to where we live. So everything so far has been around Milton Keynes and the surrounding areas. Will we go further afield? Possibly next year when we look to expand it. So now's your opportunity, guys. Give your thoughts. Do you think it's a load of old pony? Is there any substance to the story? I certainly believe there is myself. But as I said, it doesn't have to be the creature I dread. It could just be the significance of a series of different things happening, and they all come together to make the so-called gruesome story of a werewolf. And with that, guys, that will do it for this evening. Anyway, guys, from myself and Adventures of Paul here at Stanton Low, the old ruins of St Peter's Church, Milton Keynes, and the werewolf story, believe it or not. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back next week with another episode. We don't know quite yet where yet. Basically, it depends on the weather conditions. We could have a plethora of snow this weekend. So depending on that, how the roads are, how the areas that we intend to search and locate are, will depend on what we're going to do. But it will be spooky. It will have an element of maybe ghostly, paranormal, etc. It's just what we're doing during this series. And with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Paul's channel. You can too do mine itself. I'm not that bothered. I just put up the stuff. I never ask for subscriptions, etc. That's just the way I am. And with that, guys, thank you for watching. Starting to get cold again. We'll see you in the movies. Bye for now.